2023 has been jam-packed with great albums in my circle of music that I listen to anyway. I have always found talking about my favourite albums of the year the most difficult actually, as I get weirdly nervous that I am not listening to enough or that I'm not talking about my love for these albums in the best way possible. Then I remember that this is my list and no one else's, so I'd be dishonest if I'd only focus on that and not talk about what I truly love. So fuck that. Here's my wacky ass list. Usual disclaimers, obviously I haven't listened to every album this year, so there will be stuff not on here that I'm sure many of you have enjoyed and like. What dictates an album for me is 4 songs or more, and I'm not including soundtracks either, because I don't want to talk about Good Omens Series 2 again after the toll that video took on me, and also I will cry. And if I wanted to talk about the Tears of the Kingdom soundtrack and Tears of the Kingdom in general, I want to save it for its own video. And I will also cry if I talk about the soundtracks, because they are so good. Anyway, with that being said, let's just start with the honourable mentions. These albums are great, they just narrowly missed the top 30, or I haven't listened to them as much, but still, all brilliant. This, like the comeback, was a surprising release that came out of nowhere. The Vivids never really stood out to me or was on my radar, so this was a really nice surprising release to listen to. I love finding out new things. The actual album itself is very cohesive, focusing a lot on synth pop but ordinary pop as well. The standouts for me being Maniac, Anti and Day by Day, but all of it is great, and if you just want a fun album to listen to Versus. It's a weird album name for sure. It's one of those things when I won't remember it that well. I will just probably call the album Crazy Form rather than The World Episode Fin World. I think I even got that wrong. What is it called? The World Ep Fin Will. There we are. I got it wrong already. It's not that memorable of a title. I wish they just called it Crazy Form. It'd be easier. Other than that, this is one of their best albums ever. It mixes their great hype songs with some ethereal and mellow ones as well. I love the unit songs as well, as it really lets the members shine more. The standout songs for me being Silver Light, Dreamy Day, Matt and It's You. Amazing. It's just such a well made and cohesive album, and just Ateez did amazing this year. Zone is a great album that showcases Jiko's skills really well. Love the variety of genres and sounds, mix of R&B ballads, pop, Latin pop as well. Standouts for me being Talking About It, Don't Want to Go Back and Closer. I think it's rather underrated in terms of its quality with its production, as there's really no dud on this album at all. I really wish Teen Fresh was a longer release from STAYC, because I am getting a bit tired of just the EPs from them, but it does still do well for them. It is cute and it's a bit whimsical. It really goes to the Teen Fresh concept of being very teen-like and aims for teens, but the B-sides still contribute to STAYC's great discography with its production and quality. Standouts on the album are Be Mine and I Wanna Do. The song Not Like You is fine, but it can be a bit forgettable sometimes, but the real standout of this whole album is Bubble. I never really got into Sour like a lot of other people. Like, yes, I think it was objectively like a good album. The only song I really connected to on there was probably Good For You and Brutal, but Guts is so much better than Sour, and I have really enjoyed listening to it. I love how Olivia is sticking to the 90s grunge. It really suits her very well. You can tell that this is her sophomore album, as there's so much growth with her voice and performance, but the deep cuts and also slower piano ballads are still her forte, and Olivia sings them so well. The standouts on this album for me being Bad Idea Right, Lacey, Love Is Embarrassing and Making the Bed. I really hope she continues with this sound because she just suits it so well. It's so rare for a group to debut with a pretty hefty album. Heck, it's rare for a group to debut with more than one song released. That's why Kiss of Life stands out so much. I like actually how it's self-titled, so it just introduces them and lets themselves and the music speak for itself. The standouts on this album for me are Goodbye Neverland, a sentimental song that just sounds like Kiss of Life growing up away from childhood, and of course the solos. Such a great idea to give the members their own identity, with Sugarcoat being my favourite. One of the best debut albums in my opinion. Whilst the actual comeback left a little to be desired, this album has to be Sserafim's best so far and has their best B-side so far as well. Obviously focusing on the new songs, the only ones I don't listen to that much are, I say Unforgiven, but I'm definitely warmed up to it a lot more throughout the year. I don't really listen to Fear not that much, it just doesn't really hit me. Still both great, and again like I said, I still bought Unforgiven when it comes on. The rest though are fantastic. Burn Their Bridge is their best intro, full of punch, full of darkness, and full of all the drama that I love. No Return is a great bubblegum pop song with some great trumpet work as well. Flash Forward is a dreamy synth song, and Fire in the Belly is a perfect summer song full of flair that feels like it was made for the World Cup. But the magnum opus of the album, and arguably the real star of probably the entire year for Sserafim, is Eve Psyche and the Blue Biz Wife. Whilst you would think I've gotten tired of this song, like some have, because it is everywhere and it's been probably the most successful song, that is not the case at all. This is an amazing dancehall kind of track, and it's just still spectacular. It still hits so well, and it's like nothing other I've heard this year. All these B-sides are absolutely phenomenal and are top tier for Sserafim, and I think they completely overshadow the title track for me. Sserafim have amazing songs, and Unforgiven, whilst I still enjoy, hasn't been up there with the others, but I don't want that to ever knock against Sserafim because they are amazing and I cannot wait to see what they do next year. One of the earlier albums released this year, yet it still holds up so well. Whilst Paramore's past two albums had a mix of their usual alt-rock and pop, this is why it focuses a lot on more their alt-rock, but showcases a variety of genres as well. The title song and the opener, This Is Why, punches you right away. Hailey pulls no punches with how truthful she is with her lyrics, and I love it. The other hard hitters and powerhouses include The News, Running Out of Time, and You First, but it also mellows out for songs such as Thick Skull, Liar, and Big Man Little Dignity. The range of sounds and feelings on here brings the whole album together. Standouts for me being Running Out of Time, Crave, You First, and Thick Skull. I fell in love with Paramore when listening to this album, and I really wish the best for the group. The more I listened to this mini album this year, the more I realised how great it was. Set Me Free was a great pop vocal song to start the album. Moonlight Sunrise was also a great pre-release, full of sparkle and dark sequins, glamour of the night. Got the Thrills and Wallflower are different sides of pop that have always been fun to see Twice experiment with, but I think Blame It On Me and Crazy Stupid Love are the standout B-sides of the album. The album delves into the thrill of being in love, treating it as an ongoing roller coaster, but also something that can easily crash if you try and get off it. It's a solid mini album for Twice and shows that they still have a lot of gold in their treasure box. This is actually the first album by I-dle that I liked. I've tried getting into their other albums before, but they just haven't been for me. So this not only having songs I like, but all of them being great for me is just a treat. This is an album about identity and confidence through and through, and nothing encapsulates more than the pop rock side track Allergy. It pairs so well with Queen Card, as it's a direct response to feeling confident and happy with oneself. Everyone is a Queen Card and everyone can be a Queen Card. The other B-sides are great. Lucid sends you into a trance and is addicting. All Night is also a great party song. Paradise is a heartful piece, and Peter Pan is just a fun song to close the album with. Overall, it was a great mini album, and maybe because I like this, I should probably delve into I-dle's discography again to see if I've changed my opinions on anything. But I'm just glad I've very much enjoyed this I-dle release. There's Almost has some of Itzy's greatest B-sides. I did a short ranking all the songs on the album, and I said on there that I like all the songs and it still applies today. Cake is a great title to lead the album, keeping all the Itzy charm that we all love, whilst None of My Business and Better Me let Itzy adventure out into other genres, expanding their sound. The rest of the B-sides are killer. Brassy is a snarky attitude-filled anthem full of bite. Psycho Love It is another great example of a pop and rock being incorporated, but Kill Shot takes it as one of Itzy's best B-sides ever. The chill but tense beat is mesmerising. The whole album feels the most diverse in terms of sound, but also one of the best with its production quality. It has a rough around the edges feel, but it also feels authentic, and I can't wait for their next full album in January. After Miley released Plastic Hearts, I think she finally found the right sound for her voice, so I was really excited for her next project, and Endless Summer Vacation didn't disappoint at all. It has the feeling of laying on the beach in the late afternoon, sun in your hair, skin heating in the sun, the slow parts of the summer that you cherish the most. Obviously the main track Flowers became a massive hit this year, and also quickly soured due to it being quite basic. I like Flowers, it's fine and digestible, but I will agree that there's far better tracks on the album. This album does execute warm summer ballads right. Jaded, rose-coloured lenses, You and 1,000 Miles are beautiful and uses Miley's nasally and deeper voice so well. River and Violet chemistry are the massive standouts for me. They're so much fun and full of joy, with that hint of longing as well. This album was great. I love the cohesivity of it, and I can listen to it over and over again. It's so good. Another great album from James Marriott. Ariette tells the personal tales of love, relationships and regret, with great storytelling with the lyrics and using the music to emote so well with the messages. It feels like a natural progression from Bitter Tongues. It has more ambition, more bite and feels more complete, having a lot more variety with its style of songs and the dimensions it goes to. Are We There Yet is in a state of feeling lost, not knowing where you are, what status you hold with other people. When life changes very fast, especially for the worst, you question yourself and who you are. And for me, many songs capture that state of being nothing. Many of these songs are standouts. I could name the whole album. So Long and Romanticize This were great pre-release tracks. Don't Blame It On Me as well. Over My Head and You I Hear are great mood setters, going postal at the party, and The Other Side goes so hard, whilst Denial and White Noise and In Between are more emotional and mellow songs. They really put on the heart. This album is great. Aespa have really stepped up their mini albums this year, and My World started off in a great way. All these songs feel fairy-like, and they really use the girls' lighter tones and voice notes with bright and chill music to let Aespa enter the natural world. Welcome to My World is a haunting opening. It should feel welcoming quite literally, but there's something sinister hiding underneath, which doesn't really return until I'm Unhappy, a sarcastic feeling song that feels happy but is also slightly off as well. Both are little reminders that there's always something else going on with Aespa. Spicy, Thirsty and Salty and Sweet are not cohesive with their song titles, but they're also absolute popular girl anthems. Spicy is something that shouldn't work at all, but absolutely does, with the booming dubstep synth and the snarky confidence. It's what is needed and is continued into Salty and Sweet, which has that hint of seduction, as well with Thirsty, but that's a bit more playful. Till We Meet Again is a sweet closer where the strings do the talking with the girls' beautiful melodic voices in the background. Overall, a beautiful release from Aespa. TXT won me over so much with this album. It's full of fairy tale references and of course magical fantasy, which TXT always executes so well. It does feel like it delves into the darker side of fairy tales, and it has some superstitious flavours as well. Devil by the Window seems like an old wise tale telling you not to take the temptation from the devil. Sugar Rush Ride is a fever dream of lust and feast on your adrenaline. The pumping guitar and the rushing feeling, only cut by the slowed anti-drop at the chorus, is amazing. One of their best title tracks for real. Happy Fools is a bop. Tinnitus has a great Afrobeat flair, but is still very mellow and chill. I don't think and Farewell Neverland is an emotive and lonely serenade that punches you in the gut and makes you realise that you have to grow up and will never relive that childhood joy again. TXT showed with the name track Temptation how to do a great mini album. It has variety, its soundscape is diverse, but its overall feeling of the seductive and melancholy is beautiful. It's really one of their best. I've been a fan of Fall Out Boy for almost 10 years. So Much for Stardust returns to Fall Out Boy's more alt-rock past, with having hints of Folie à Deux and Say Rock and Roll, with a dash of Infinity on High if you're feeling lucky. Love on the Other Side and Heartbreak Feels So Good starts the album and were great pre-release tracks as well. Both have amazing melodies and great vocal parts as well. The first half, with Hold Me Like a Grudge, Fake Out, So Good Right Now and Heaven I.O.I, is a mix of upbeat pop rock jams, with Heaven I.O.I taking a more ghostly route, broken up by a small interlude featuring Ethan Hawke. The second half is where it really heats up. I Am My Own Muse is egotistic but a self-aware track that delves deep into the psyche. It has an amazing haunting and spine-chilling instrumental with the violins evoking something of a horror soundtrack. Patrick's vocals brings everything together to create my favourite track on the album. Flu Game is a fun break in the emotive run of the album. Kintsugi Kid, What's the Time to Be Alive, and So Much for Stardust rounds out the album, and they are the most raw tracks as well. Kintsugi Kid feels like healing the inner child. What's the Time to Be Alive directly talks about the 2020 lockdown in a weirdly joyful but satirical way, and So Much for Stardust is a heartbreaking end to this album. It was a great experience to listen to this album and all its songs. Great turn from Fall Out Boy. IVE's first album was gonna have a lot of expectations and pressure put on it no matter what. And what IVE gave us was phenomenal. Dare I say, one of their best first albums we got from a rookie group. I Am is obviously the centerpiece for the album with how grand and celebratory it is. Kitsch is a great opposite to I Am, being more low-key and down to earth, and also a first touch into what eventually Baddie, Either Way and Off the Record would be. B-sides such as Blue Blood, Heroin and Hypnosis show a more mature and confident side to IVE that stands strong. Lips and Cherish are cute and cheeky stories, and in the same vein, Not Your Girl goes for a very bubblegum pop route, showing that it can still be done successfully today. Mine, Next Page and Shine On Me are the emotive showstoppers of the album, showcasing how much the girls have already grown with their vocal performance and expressions. The storytelling on this album is great as well. IVE, fun name to say, is definitely the final of IVE's first year, how they dominated with their presence and of course great music. It represents what areas they do best as well, as it shows how diverse their music can be. All the songs have a place in the album, yet none of them merge together or are forgettable. It is one of the best albums of the year and it's only number 14 on my list. IVE are really the ones to watch. Then, to my surprise, after they released one of the best albums of the year, IVE came back and hit me with a phenomenal mini album. Maybe because it's more new, there might be some recency bias to it, but at the same time, this mini album is a great time. I like how their three main title tracks are all completely different and show how diverse IVE can be with their sound and concepts, but none of them really follow IVE's usual elegant concept, which I think is really clever for them moving forward. Either Way is the most vulnerable IVE has been, accompanied by a beautiful music video. Off the Record is their most pop-heavy track, but feels more mellow and really represented dancing in your room at 2 AM, just feeling yourself and being confident. And Baddie, of course, is IVE's full venture into Girl Crush, focusing on the more trap beat and electro influences as well. The B-sides, OTT, Holy Moly and Playback are also amazing, and the production quality is better than ever before. Holy Moly follows a similar route to Baddie, having a simple instrumental made out of fun sounds, using a lot more horns this time in the verses. The vocals are put to great use. OTT used chanting singing really well and is a very vibey song, and Playback is my favourite song from the album as the melody is perfect and the way everything is done and comes together is everything I like in the song. Also, as soon as it says Winter's Coming in the bridge, I knew this would be a Christmas adjacent song, so this one was repeat this holiday season. Mine only just beats out IVE just because I just like it a little better right now. That's how I feel. Also, just because I think it works so well for IVE because it's so different. I love it. it so much. Drama feels like Aespa's strongest comeback, and maybe even album so far. I'm still in Savage's hold for the rest of my life, I think, but I cannot deny that Drama is a perfect evolution from what Savage is and represents everything amazing about Aespa. Drama starts the album with a bang, and we already know how good it is. Trick or Trick, which I only just realised is actually not called Trick or Treat, is a sneaky and a wicked power anthem in the same vein as I'll Make You Cry. That reminds you that Aespa are way more sinister than you think. The start of Don't Blink, someone said, sounds like the start of the Better Call Saul theme, and now I can't unhear it. Other than that, this production is phenomenal and it comes together so beautifully. The harmonies are also on point in that song. Hot Air Balloon is a cute and quirky romp that feels like a tune for a hot summer's day. YOLO is a hype electro pop song that rounds out the end of the hyper part of the album. And You is a beautiful soft ballad to end out the album. It has serene vocals and a beautiful and nostalgic sound as well. And Better Things is tacked onto the end, but I love Better Things so much, so I don't mind at all. It's a great surprise. Overall, Drama is an exceptional mini album by Aespa, and my god, looking at their music produced this year, if they finally have their first album next year, we are in for a treat. TXT knows how to do albums, with Temptation being more soft and sultry and dreamy. Freefall dumps a bucket of cold water on your head and keeps you awake for its chaotic, bombastic and energetic ride. Growing Pain is a full-on rock anthem, making use of the Boyz' powerful and gravelly voices, and makes great use of vocal runs as well. Chasing That Feeling is a rising magical anthem that is a great addition to TXT's Magical Fantasy collection. I'm so glad that they added back for more, as it's a great pop performance full of highs and slow parts, great control and power. Dreamer is a whimsical R&B pop song that feels reminiscent of their earlier albums like the Dreamcatcher Eternity or the Dreamcatcher Magic, but it still has that rough edge to make it a beautiful part of the album. Deep Down again uses a cinematic sound and echoey vocals to build tensions and emotions again. Happily Ever After is a fun break in the album with some of the most fun choreography as well. TXT have such a great ability to still have so many aspects to their earlier days of music and what people liked about them at first, but have evolved and adapted them to new heights, and it's great to see. Skipping Stones and Blue Spring bring the full force of pop rock to the forefront and shows the full roughness and ruggedness of this album, and have beautiful, powerful vocals and storytelling as well. The album ends with Do It Like That, another great collab with the Jonas Brothers, and it's a great pop song. If I could say anything about this album, it reminds me of a G.O.D. A rugged and drab rock on the outside to represent the dark and rougher notes of the album with its punk influence, but on the inside, a blue or purple crystal complex to show TXT still have their magical and whimsy influence and their beautiful fantasy takes as well, that they've had since their debut and is still at the core of their work. TXT are chameleons when it comes to their music and concepts. They can do anything and it works because they will always have their hearts at the forefront of their work, and that's why the name Chapter Freefall is a great album. So this was originally going to be talking about Lovejoy's album Wake Up and It's Over, but due to recent things coming to light, I think it would not only just be inappropriate, but completely wrong to give any more spotlight to them. I do not support the main singer of the band, nor will I be talking about Lovejoy again on this channel. And the most important thing to take away from this is to support and listen to all victims. I give my love and support to Shelby and all the other victims that have come forward about the lead singer of this band, and I will just leave it at that. When I reviewed No Easy, I said that Stray Kids know how to make an album. And what I meant by that is that each song on the album has a purpose, and the album itself just has a diverse sound and genre of songs. But it's also not jarring when it changes songs, and it's also not too basic or general. It does take risks as well. Like, it makes sense for the songs to be on the album and they all sound right. And 5 Star is no different. Hall of Fame is such a great opener which builds on the right amount of tension for the star of the album, S-Class. Like I said in my comeback video, S-Class caters towards Stray Kids' very experimental and nuanced sound, so it may seem polarising to others, but I loved it. I love the sharpness, attack and confidence of the song, and it was a great representation for Stray Kids in the moment. The album continues with hit after hit with Item, Super Bowl and Top Line, all having amazing production, great energy. Top Line is a real standout, with a great Tiger JK feature. The first half of the album ends its hype energy with DLC and is a great throwback to dance tracks in like 2016, 2017, but refreshed for this current time. The second half starts with Lit, a crazy boomer tune inspired track with amazing instrumental mixing with great vocals. Collision, FNF and Beautiful takes a turn into a more mellow and messageful and thematic route, with Collision taking a more jazzy route in Stray Kids discography, FNF standing for Flora and Fauna, which is a tribute to the tragic forest fires that happened in Australia. The emotions continue in the ballad Beautiful, the song title being a mix of You and Beautiful, a message about self-esteem and giving support and comfort to those who need it. The album ends with songs released before, The Sound, the Japanese title track, but the Korean version of it this time. I love the OG Japanese version and I love this one as well, and the rock pop mixtape Time Out, which was also great. Going through this album and remembering that Stray Kids produced and wrote all these songs makes this body of work even more impressive. The production is so clean and they explore new avenues with genres and storytelling, and it's amazing. Stray Kids never disappoint. Finally, after many years, Jungkook finally released his solo album. The best part of this album is how it showcases Jungkook's vocal range and ability perfectly, even more than we've ever heard before. 7, 3D and Standing Next to You are brilliant main tracks to represent Jungkook's range of talents. 7 takes the best part of pop music in this era with a groove, drum and bass instrument that uses Jungkook's softer vocals and charming attitude. 3D takes it back to the late 90s, early 2000s and uses Jungkook's lower register with a more seductive range. Standing Next to You is the showstopper of the album. It's grand and luxurious and it feels like a massive finale of a musical or film. I love how the instrumental of the song does the talking at the start and lets it play for like a good 30 seconds before his voice comes in. Those 3 main tracks were great foundations of the album and were absolutely perfect to represent Jungkook's talent so far. The rest of the album have great pop tracks as well. Closer to You features Major Lazer, a renowned producer, and the Afrobeat and dancehall mix in This Is Addicting. I love how soft and wispy Jungkook's vocal performance can be, and then it switches to a sultry lower register with a subtle instrumental and beat in the background. Please Don't Change is in a similar vein, with DJ Snake being part of the song this time. I love how the line Please Don't Change and the instrumental mesh so well together. Yes or No reminds you of the early to mid 2010s boy band pop, which makes sense as Shawn Mendes is on the credits for this track. The guitar does such a great job here and it continues the warm tones in this album. Somebody is such a great display of Jungkook's vocal range because I think no one recognised his voice at the start of the song. I think this also might have my favourite melodies out of the B-sides of the albums. I like how the use of the strings in the chorus slows down the instrumental by having little going on. The echo effects add to Jungkook's voice, creating an emotive and desperate attempt to call out to the void, asking unanswerable questions and wanting to find someone, anyone. Hate You, Too Sad to Dance and Shot Glass Full of Tears continue the more emotive pop ballad side of the album. Hate You reminds me of Stay Another Day, and now I really want BTS to make a Christmas album where they cover that song. Too Sad to Dance teeters on the cuter side, more reminiscing over sad times they can look back on without regrets, but have moved on from as well. Shot Glass of Tears is the one that stabs you in the heart though, with damning questions and beautiful harmonies. I love how the album is a mix of all the pop greats, from modern day to retro classics, EDM, Afrobeats and trap, to the good old pop ballads. Golden is a perfect pop album that knows what Jungkook can do well and raises the bar even higher. I can't believe that was the ungodly year of 2023 that I finally started listening to Hosier. So listening to Unreal Unearthed for the first time was not only the first time listening to a Hosier album, but just Hosier in general as well, other than Take Me to Church, and my god, it was amazing. I felt like I was floating or ascending to heaven listening to these songs. It was an amazing magical experience. I love Hosier's voice, his emotions and expressions, and his performance is amazing and so engaging. I love how he lets go with his voice and has great vocal runs and never cuts it off short either. The beautiful work of the piano and string instruments in the song blends beautifully with his voice as well. The lyrics, of course, are ethereal. It's full of soul and clarity, and the references to religion and wordplay are also phenomenal. Standouts on this album for me include Day Selby Part 2, Eat Your Young, Francesca, Unknown/Anthem, First Light. This album was a heavenly experience from beginning to end, and I am so blessed to have experienced it. Stray Kids do mini albums brilliantly as well. This is coloured with punk and neon colours, and the rock sound dominating this album is amazing, but it's used in so many different ways and flexible ways as well that again cements how amazing Stray Kids are with genres and sounds. Looking at the songs, Megaverse and Complex are quintessential Stray Kids songs that experiment with weird sounds and structures, but somehow comes together beautifully. They also feel like they fit in really well with 5 Star as well, with the confidence of Complex and the weirdness and hype of Megaverse as well, but it feels like the right progression. La 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 and Blind Spot are the rock hotspots of the album. La 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 I adored and is one of my favourite Stray Kids title tracks now, and it's so interesting to think that it was originally going to be the title track of 5 Star instead of S-Class. Even more reason it should have been called like Feel the Rock or The Rock, etc., but I still love it so much. Blind Spot is also incredible, and Seungmin really shines on the album as well. Cover Me is a heart-wrenching emotional core of the album, really showing how the electric guitar can be used as such an emotive instrument, and Leave is a calm ballad to finish the streak. It's in a similar vein to Sorry I Love You, but the usual feelings of desperation on pleading for someone to stay who is gone, and it feels like the lyrics know that all and is just basically begging for nothing, and I kind of like that revelation of that. And Sociopath is an absolute banger that I didn't see coming at all, but I'm obsessed with. All in all, another great hit from Stray Kids. Short but sweet, Layover is a perfect atmospheric album. I am so intrigued with how Layover is structured and the way it sounds, as it's an album that is incredibly sonically cohesive. And a lot of the time Taehyung just lets the instrumental tell you the feelings and messages he wants to get across. There is an incredible sense of loneliness and melancholy, but also the wonderful feeling of nostalgia when looking back at memories and reminiscing over times with friends. I find it so interesting the angle of storytelling Layover takes, and I am planning to like make a video on this in the future, by the way, so I'm just keeping all my thoughts for that. Anyway, 100% mark my words on it. If you can not, you can like banish me traitor style if you want, thank you. Rainy Days and Blue open the album, and it's intriguing as for me they are the most melancholy and lonely tracks. Rainy Days feels more chipper, but the lyrics speak something different, whilst Blue takes a little inspiration from the blues genre and Taehyung's reserved tone when he sings blues beautiful, and I love seeing how versatile his voice is. Love Me Again and Slow Dancing being the pillars of this album is telling as well, with both of them being the most romantic songs on the album. Tae's performance on Love Me Again is subtle and reserved, which is perfect as his emphasis on the lyrics show where the real feeling is. I Wish You Can Love Me Again says enough. It's heartbreaking and emotional. Slow Dancing is very romantic as well, but with more nostalgia and reminiscing in the mix rather than loneliness. The difference between the piano and jazz version is so telling, and again shows how much the instrumental speaks of the tracks, as both reveal a different side to it. The jazzy ending is more nostalgic, whilst the piano feels more romantic but melancholy. And For Us closing the album finishes on an empty note. You feel the sense of nostalgia for past summers, but there is still something still unsaid lingering, and that's really only scratching the surface of this brilliant album. There's really not much to say anymore because I don't think I could put into words how much I love everything about this album and how awe I am in of Yoongi's work. This album has a life and a world of its own, and it's so grounded at the same time. I admire how incredibly personal it gets with songs like Amygdala, Snooze, Her, People Part 2 and Life Goes On, with how fun and exciting I have and how confident it gets with D-Day, Haegum and STL, with Haegum leaving the helm as a quintessential August D track full of grandeur, energy and fight. And then you get something like Polar Night, which is different from everything else for me, if I could ask you all to listen to and read the lyrics of any song I mentioned today, it's this one. Listen to what August is saying and take it in. All of these songs have brilliant storytelling, lyric play and vocal performance along with brilliant instrumentals. It's for me August's best album and is a brilliant final act for August's prestige. I was surprised this wasn't number one in the end, because it was at some point. My love for this album, this phenomenal body of work, the story and experience is unprecedented, and the impact and effect it had on me, gaining new knowledge and perspectives I will always be grateful for. I think the only reason this wasn't number one is that just because it just didn't have more songs than the top 2 albums are full albums. But even then, this album is outstanding in its own rights. The depth Jimin goes to with the vocal performance, productions on the songs, the heartfelt lyrics and the storytelling, and with it all coming together, I absolutely love it. Again, I've made a video on the entire album, what it means to me and delving into it, and it really says everything. Face Off is a brilliant opening full of anger, spite and regret. Interlude Dive is hypnotic, mesmerising and nostalgic. Like Crazy is brilliant and everything I want in a synth pop song. And its structure alone destroys me every time I listen to it, especially after reading the lyrics over and over again. And Set Me Free Part 2 is cathartic and literally liberating. It's explosive and full of confidence. And then you have Lesser, which is a beautiful, sentimental, hidden track for those who need it. Face is always going to be special to me and feels so personal. When I think of 2023, I will always think of this album first. Listen, I have been a fan of Star Kid since 2019, and they have appeared on my channel briefly in the early days of 2020, but I've never really talked about Star Kid just as a whole before. And Nerdy Prude Must Die is their most recent musical, and oh my god, I was blown away. The story, the characters, the staging, the production, and especially the songs were all amazing. With it being mainly set in high school with a story centering around high school kids, the soundtrack reflected that so well. The opening, High School Is Killing Me, might be my favourite opening of any Star Kid musical ever. It's so amazing. The harmonies and melodies are everything. Literal Monster is terrifying but an amazing pastiche on the high school bully and nerd dynamic. Will Brunner is amazing as Max Jägerman, and it's terrifyingly good. And I love how Max is just downright evil just for no reason. Calls I Think I Am, If I Loved You, and the reprise for Calls I Think I Am is a brilliant trilogy of songs for developing the main characters Pete and Steph and their eventual relationship. I love the 80s ballad sound of If I Loved You, reminding me of The Power of Love. Calls I Think I Am has probably one of the greatest leitmotif and harmonies ever. Dirty Girl is a love it or hate it song. I love it and I can't help but find it catchy. Same with Bully the Bully and then Bury the Bully. Angela steals the show and brings the right unhingedness that Grace possesses. Go Go Nighthawks is the high school musical prestige that we need, and oh yeah, fuck Clivesdale. And then we get to Nerdy Prudes Must Die, the absolute highlights of the show, and when it turns from a fun high school parody to something much more sinister. John Mattison gives my favourite performance in this one number, and it breaks my heart every time. The ending of the song gives me chills and it's absolutely perfect. And then comes along Hatchet Town, which is also just as good. I love how it's basically everyone pointing the finger at everyone else on who's to blame, but the dramatice of it all is just a cherry on top. Just for Once is a song I always have to listen to thoroughly when it comes on. The storytelling and the lyrics is hilarious but also heartbreaking and sounds like something out of falsettos. Lauren Lopez is a star and gives a phenomenal performance as Ruth, going from a satirical impression of her mum in her 40s to a heart-wrenching performance. Lauren Lopez is amazing. I just love her so much. And then comes The Summoning. I don't think I've ever been more hyped for a scene in the Star Kid musical when I watched this for the first time. It is crazy, insane, hypnotic, and something out of the occult, but absolutely brilliant. Best of Me is another perfect high school musical-esque song, perfect for the Disney Channel to end the show on. It's incredibly fun and great to see the characters have a happy ending. Until Grace Chastity decides to close the show on her own terms with Dirty Dudes Must Die, a perfect balance of comedic reference, but also terrifying the shit out of me. Closing closing the show with now a very ambiguous ending. This whole experience is so much fun, and the songs are obviously absolutely insanely good. Not only do they fit the story and the respective characters so well, but the variety in sounds for the songs are amazing. If you do have some time, you just want to have a good show, please go watch Nerdy Prudes Must Die. It's free on YouTube, but it's just as good as any musical on Broadway right now in the West End. I have waited over 5 years for this album. I started becoming a fan of Red Velvet just after their Bad Boy comeback, so not so far after their second album release. Then I had to wait, not even 5, over 6 damn years just to see their third full album. First of all, it shouldn't have taken that long. One of those damn re-festival albums, which I all love by the way, could have been a full album, but alas, we did get it in the end. It's at the point that if Red Velvet release something, I will like it, as inevitably, if I like their music, I'm going to like what they're going to be releasing. So when Chill Kill came out, I was just ready to enjoy it, and I did. But I was also blown away by it more than I could ever think or ever be expected. I went through a beautifully and emotional journey listening to the album, as it had everything and more with all these songs. These 10 songs are phenomenal and top tier, and a masterclass in the production, vocals and performance. Chill Kill is a beautiful finale, a congratulations, a we finally made it, all for staying on theme, a perfect theme for a final girl or killer in a horror film. It's filled with horror and hope at the same time, and I love every bit of it. Knock Knock is quintessential horror, Red Velvet and something straight out of Peekaboo or A Really Bad Boy with a hint of monster as well. The wind-up music at the start merging into the orchestral masterpiece is sublime. Underwater is just chef's kiss. It is perfect. There is nothing more to say than perfect. A stunning R&B ballad that's sensual, seductive and soft. Will I Ever See You Again starts the emotional heart of the album. I love the desperation and the love in the girls' voices. It's heavenly. At first I thought it would be a more chill and vibey track, but the emotions and layered vocals at the end make it so magical. Nightmare feels contradictive, as on paper it sounds like another horror track with violins and sharp melodies, but it's soft, playful and strangely upbeat. But maybe that contradictory is the horror of this song. Iced Coffee is a warm hug, but will also give you frostbite. It builds and builds until it releases its full ethereal sound. It's kind of festive but fully fantastical, and I am in awe of this song. One Kiss and Bulldozer are incredibly cheeky, full of charisma. One Kiss is very fairy tale but also very witchy, sealing someone's fate with one kiss or saving someone with one kiss just before midnight. It's so fun. And Bulldozer is powerful, confident and grandiose. The cheeky What Can I Break is beautiful and destructive, and no one can stop them. I'm Your Poet, I'm Your Pain is also so good. I love it so much. The softer ballads of Wings and Scenery close this masterpiece of art, showing off Red Velvet's beautiful voices again. I mean, if you already didn't get the note the first time around that they were great singers, this will surely do. I really don't think I can do this album justice with just words. It is utterly brilliant, and I still cannot believe that it is even here and exists. And that's not even scraping the surface of the beautiful and brilliant concepts, outfits, music videos and stages. Everything about this is perfect to me, but what do I expect as Red Velvet? That was a lot. As you can tell, I liked a lot of music this year, and that will surely make my top 100 songs easy to sort out, right? Right. But you'll soon find out with my next video, so for now, thank you for watching and I hope you enjoyed.